let's look at Excel tutorial. All right, so if we have if we put our data in Excel in column form, for example, if we put if we put our data from Excel in from this lab, I mean from the data that you are calculating right now. Let's say we put in.
I have a question. We put these datas in. Are we actually doing 1 over t? So it's not going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be whatever the number is when you divide 1 by t. I'm just giving you some total example data. I had put some fake data in here, but then I thought, maybe I should put it in as 1 over t by 1 by natural log of k, just so it will be relevant to maybe what we did a few minutes ago. Yeah. So when you have 2 columns of data, how much Excel do you know? Does anybody have you done graphing in Excel before?
It's been a long time. I think I have a little bit.
With a bit?
It's a long time. I'm
Okay.
for programming.
Okay. So all you really need to know in this class, for the most part, is how to make basic charts. You're gonna basically do scatter plots in here, and it'll probably be for the next. We're gonna probably do three more actual labs, and that we still have to do that computational project. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your your data in columns, and when you get ready to put in a chart, you're gonna select the data that you want to go on the y-axis first. So you're gonna take your cursor and you're going to select in a box form whatever data is going on the y-axis. Select only the data you want on the y, and you're going to go up to where it says, yeah. You're going to go up to where it says Insert Chart, and then you're going to tell it what kind of chart. And in this case, we're going to do a scatter plot. And you can do different types of scatter plots, but we're going to do a marked scatter, which means we want our points marked. So in this case, we see that our points are indeed marked. So now what we have to do is we have to go into Excel and we have to tell it exactly where to go to find which value for X corresponds with each value for Y. So that the way that we do that is we go now to Chart, Format. Then we go to Chart Layout. Where do we go? No. They changed it on me. Chart. Data. Format. Okay, so if you can't find a place where it says edit chart data, you want to go to chart source data. And that will allow you to be able to go and find your data that you're going to put on your x-axis. Now, when you're in this little dialog box, this little part right here tells you what the y values are. Over here where it says series, it allows you to name exactly what points that this series describes. So this will be my temperature versus what is it? Versus, right, equilibrium constant data or whatever, and then your next series is going to be your trend line. So you can name the series there. So whatever your series name is, whatever chart you're going to put, you can put it there. This is your range of your data. And then in order to get off of this dialog box so that you can go and put your correct X values in, you click this little box to get away. And sometimes you can't really get there, so let me go and I got to go in. It's very helpful for you to be able to get to that dialog box and to get this chart out of the way. I usually like to put my charts in a completely separate sheet because they can get in the way, they can get lost, all that foolishness. But now I've gotten it out of the way, so I uncovered my data. So now that I go back in the chart, source data, now I can go and I can click the little blue and white box or whatever color box that is, and I can go find my data now. And I now select the data that's right next to this. Now this is the X data.
So what kind of, is a scatter plot?
Mm-hmm. And then you go click it again to get back into the dialog box. And when you look at these two next to each other, the X and the Y box, you want to make sure that the numbers look similar. You want to make sure that you don't have D7 to D14 and then you have C6 to C14 because that means that your data is going to be off by a point. It's going to be shifted. It's going to be inaccurate. So that means that you need to make sure it's all lined up. You can name the chart here if you want to. You can go ahead and call it enthalpy calculation. But you probably want to call it something more more reasonable. Go ahead and do something different right here. If you want to put your temperature data in one column like this, like let's say for instance, this is your temperature data here, and if you just want to go ahead and do your 1 over temperature calculations like I'm about to do and see if I can get myself a straight line, you can just say put the equal sign in there and press 1 divided by, and then you click on this column, and then that'll give you your 1 over temperature, and then you click the bottom of the cell until it becomes a black crosshair, and you drag it to copy it down, and then my data still didn't change to a straight line. But at any rate, yeah. Hey, Erica.
How about the jobs? I came to tell you after the tell you not to go to the Dr. Erica.
Yeah. The info from someone. So let me see if I can make my data. Let's see if I can make my data turn into a line. Okay. Okay, so let's just say this is our data. Now, in order to get the slope that you're going to need to calculate your enthalpy, this is what you need to do. This is how you insert a trend line to get your slope. You're going to right-click right here on one of the points. And you're going to say add trend line. Okay. Add trend line. And then no, you have to tell it what type of trend line. Jamie Crew thirds, you got to do your chart.
What type of training?
And I'm gonna need you to be paying attention in my class now.
I'm gonna do it, and I'm paying attention.
No, you're not.
Ma'am.
No, you're not, ma'am. You talking? You and that one right there, and that one right there.
Yeah, I know how to know. I know how to know.
No, you don't. What did I just say about the trend line? I know. So once you right click on one of the points, you go into the trend line. You're going to format it to where you need a linear trend line. And once you have a linear trend line, you need to go into options. And this is where you can find your slope. Once you get into options, you need to tell it to display the equation on the chart. When you go into options, display equation on chart. There's a straight line. Yes. And since I made this completely perfect, it was a bogus equation, but now you have an equation. And so now you have a number right there. Right.
No, it doesn't.
It gives you,
It gives us delta H over R. You just have to multiply.
right. You go to right click right here on one of your points. You say add trend line. And once you get to add trend line, you're going to tell it you want a linear trend line. Then you go to options. And then you tell it that you want to display the equation on the chart. And once you display the equation, you know that this right here is your M. And your M represents delta H over R. And so in order to get your delta H, you multiply that number right there, whatever number you get right here, by your R. Okay. So this will, whatever you, this chart you need to put in your notebook. You're going to have to do a chart as well for this experiment that we were going to do today. I'm glad we didn't try to do this experiment today because we wouldn't have had time. We need to do a chart as well for that experiment. And for that experiment, you're going to have 2 data series. So you're going to have not just one of these. Let me see. We'll do this right quick, and then we will move on. Now, I'm not going to say go. I hear you. I hear you over there blaspheming. Hot mess. You have 2 data series, okay? So in order to add a data series, you need to go up to, you're going to click on the chart. You go to chart, either add data or source data. I prefer to go to source data. And down here, you can click on add. This is for the next one. This is going to be your next series. You're going to name this one something different. For the next experiment. For the next one, you're going to have to do, you're going to have to compare 2 sets of data. So you're going to have a comparison between your first type of, like let's say we're comparing one type of data, and then you're going to have a completely different set of points to compare a second type of data. So then we're going to have, let's say we're doing something else for this series. So same difference. You're going to go and pick your Y values, your X values. Since we're talking about the same chart, your X values are going to be the same. So now, there you have it. So now you have 2 different sets of data points on the same. And the reason for your legend over here, the reason we named these things is so that when you have 2 different series on the same chart, that you can distinguish between the 2 by knowing that my red is this, my blue is this. And if you need to add a trend line to this one, you can do it to that one as well. Okay? So I'm going to give you your lab for next week. I gave them out in class morning to a few people. This is, I wanted to explain it to you so you didn't get too bogged down in the Greek looking calculations. It's very, very simple. All we're doing is a freezing point depression. We're just going to be measuring the temperature, the freezing point of basic water. And then we're going to measure, when we did colligative properties in general chem, we said that colligative properties depend on the amount of solute, right? And we said we usually talk about non-electrolytes, things that don't break into ions. But we're going to do an electrolyte solution, and this particular lab tells you how to look at the effect of that solution in an electrolyte in so many different ways. So all we're going to do is we're going to take and measure the freezing point of water, and then we're going to add differing concentrations of an electrolyte to it. We're going to measure the concentration of the electrolyte by titrating, and then we're going to calculate the different types of indicator to tell you what the effect was and plot it on a graph. We'll talk about those calculations next week, but we're going to be actually completing the whole lab next week. I was going to try to get us to do the lab this week and save the material to titrate next week, but I think it's better to just not waste the vials and all that and just do it all at one time. So next week we are going to meet over here again because we're going to be using the strong base and I don't want us crowded together. But next week we're going to meet in the research lab over here. Make sure you bring your lab jacket and goggles. We're going to meet in 1114 Biotech. Okay, questions?